The Toronto Raptors have now won 3 straight games. Scotty Barnes has been a huge reason why. In his last 3 games, last night he went 21-12 against Orlando, 21-9, and then in the other win against the Pacers, 18-7-7. This rookie has played 7 games, and he is overperforming. He's outperforming half of the league, more than half of the league, guys who have been in playing for years and years and years, starters for years and years and years. Scottie Barnes, through literally 7 games in his rookie career, is outplaying these guys. It is so fun to watch. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We have a Raptors video. Keep in mind, hit that like button, hit that sub button. We're trying to hit 9,000 subscribers. I'm going to do something new here. We're going to kind of do like almost like a crypto thing, the weekly close, but we're going to just dive into everything that happened for the Raptors this next week. And then we're also going to do a little bit of preview for next week. So yeah, 7 videos a week for the Raptors, sometimes even more, maybe more like 10. So be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button if you want more Raptors content. We're going to dive into this. The Raptors went 3-1. And if you watched my week preview video last week, I predicted 3-1 with a loss to the Bulls. But this loss to the Bulls, we can't overestimate that. Or maybe overestimate's not the better word. We can't, like, that was huge. That was a great loss. I know a loss is a loss at the end of the day, but you just lost 3 points to, I mean, one of the, like, a top 3 team in the NBA right now. The Chicago Bulls just won against the Utah Jazz last night, who were heading into the game 4-0. And the Raptors were, it was a 1-possession game without their best player. I mean, this Raptors team, they're so special. It is unbelievable. So a couple of things I want to say. I want to see Precious Achiuwa move to the bench. I think Precious Achiuwa moving to the bench would be the best route possible. I think Khem Birch is as steady as she goes. I mean, he really is. This guy is Mr. Consistent, and I mean, he got off to maybe like not the most efficient, but here's the thing with the start of his season. He played, what, 1 preseason game, the last preseason game, maybe 2 preseason games. He had COVID. Like, this man literally had COVID, missed a couple of weeks of practice, and was just thrown in here with, and this is a whole new roster. You got Scottie Barnes. Like, you have all these new additions. You have a couple of subtractions in Kyle Lowry. So I think what he's been able to do so far after 7 games, like, now he's just as consistent and as steady as she goes. It took him maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 4 games to get to this point, but this is what the Raptors saw last season. Khem Birch, once he was acquired from the Orlando Magic, I mean, this guy is Mr. Reliable. He had a absolutely huge offensive rebound leading to a dunk, a putback dunk, not a putback dunk, but offensive rebound, threw it up, 2-hand jam late in the 4th quarter last night against the Indiana Pacers, and those are the things that win basketball games. Offensive rebounds win basketball games. Offensive rebounds and then dunks in the 4th quarter of a late, close, contested game between 2 playoff teams. That's who I want. And here's the deal with Precious Achiuwa. I think Precious is a little bit more of a power forward. I've seen a couple of you guys have been saying this since the start of this season, but Precious Achiuwa's statistics, not only in the preseason, but to the first couple of starts of the season, it looked like he was going to be just a fine center. Now he's starting to get a little bit more cold. Teams are starting to figure him out a little bit more. Keep in mind, he's a second-year guy who got, what was it, 11 minutes per game last year playing behind Bam Adebayo. So brand new team, brand new system, finally getting some playing time. I think off the bench is better suited for him because of everything I just mentioned. He averaged like 11 minutes last year. Second-year player. Throw him on the bench. You can put him at that power forward position if you really want to, or at least run some lineups where he's at that power forward position. And let him do his thing off the bench. The Raptors, what team doesn't need another force off the bench? The good thing the Raptors have several nice forces off the bench. But this is the thing with the Raptors is there's some headaches on this team. Now there's a couple like what do you do when Pascal Siakam comes back from injury? You know, who goes to the bench? What's that bench look like? Who's the one getting gypped out? Is it Goran Dragic? Is it Malachi Flynn? Is Yuta Watanabe going to play when he comes back? He's out for Monday's game, by the way. These are all like incredible questions and incredible problems to have. So the Raptors are sitting really pretty, but I think that first thing I would like to see is Precious Achiuwa move to the bench. Now, Nick Nurse likes to play guys just based on how they're doing. It doesn't really matter for him as far as like actual positions go. That's why you saw a lot of Kyle Lowry. You saw a lot of Fred VanVleet because those were the two best guys in the backcourt for the last couple of years. So I don't think Nick Nurse even, I don't think there's a problem with Precious Achiuwa playing center position, but I do think he's going to play the best five guys, and I think Khem Birch, I think he won the offensive, or sorry, not the offensive role, I think he won the starting role last night, especially the fact that he closed out last night's game. That's a good sign. Moving on to Scottie Barnes, I mean, the guy's phenomenal. You can't put him on the bench quite yet. I don't care who's... It's like I'm saying with Nick Nurse. He's going to play who needs to play. And so with Scottie Barnes, those last 3 games that he's hitting his stride right now. And I'll be the first one to say, if you guys watch my videos consistently, I'm not a huge fan of Scottie Barnes starting. Scottie Barnes, last night, he said he smiled. He had a little grin when he was getting booed on the free throw line. He had 2 clutch free throws to win the game for him. You can't put that man on the bench. Yeah, you could put him on the bench to start a game, and then you could obviously close out the game with the starters. But even that, I think you can't limit it. Like, the way he is playing, he can't come off the bench. So who's it going to be? It might have to be Gary Trent Jr. I don't know. It might have to be Khem Birch / Precious Achiuwa. A lot of people want to see Scottie Barnes kind of be that starting power forward, him and OG Anunoby being that 3-4 duo, and then at 5 you have Pascal Siakam. I think that is the lineup I'm digging that lineup the absolute most right now, because Scottie can't play on the bench. Pascal, he can... If the Raptors have been able to out-rebound all these big-ass teams, let's just ride that momentum. Let's keep that going. If there's an issue with Pascal being the 5, they can address it. But for now, the way the guys are playing, the way the starters are playing, I don't think you should mess with it at all. You're on a 3-game winning streak. Great loss against the Chicago Bulls. The team is starting to come together, and it's looking real nice. And you're just getting a lot of great, solid, consistent play here at the end of basketball games. And I think OG is going to continue to emerge as a player. He's not gotten off to the hottest start to the season, but once that shot starts to fall, it's going to look nice. And also one thing I wanted to point out, because I forgot to mention this, is Skye Barnes did a phenomenal job on Domantas Sabonis last night. I mean, he actually did a phenomenal job. Domantas got off to a hot start. Scottie held his ground and did a great job defending him. I think that reason alone, I mean, you can start that man with confidence at any position, guarding any player in the NBA. Maybe not Joel Embiid just because of size mismatch, but you can definitely, I mean, Scottie Barnes can guard Joel Embiid for a couple of possessions, I'm sure, just fine. So to have that interchangeability with Scottie, oh my God, dude. I mean, he's looking like legit rookie of the year, like 100%. Lastly, Gary Trent Jr., Svi. I mean, these are 2 phenomenal pickups. Svi is literally, I've seen him get compared to the next Manu Ginobili. I mean, last night, I think it was 16 points, a handful of threes. I mean, he is also extremely underrated on the defensive end. I'm loving what I'm seeing. And he's just adding on to the pieces that this squad has. If someone were to go, God forbid, someone were to go down with a serious injury, or even not a serious injury, the Raptors should be feeling just fine with the pieces they have. Next man up. But Gary Trent Jr., I mean, he wasn't having his best night last night. He came back, though, in that 4th quarter. Not only on offense, he had 5 clutch points there in the last couple of minutes. But defensively, he's got active hands. He's got quick feet. He's forcing loose balls. He's forcing steals. He's getting blocks. Like, he's doing everything right now. And it's just showing me, once again, how elite this Raptors team is at development. So let's get into this past week, 3-1. That Bulls game, great loss, great fourth quarter comeback. I think anything that game shows you, you gotta stay in these games, and the defense usually is able to do that. It just got a little out of hand in that Chicago game, but they came back with 3 straight wins, and I think yesterday's win was huge too. You can't overlook the fact that they're coming off a back-to-back in Orlando, and I know Orlando isn't off to the hottest start this season. They did take down an impressive Knicks team on the road a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of games ago, I should say. They squeaked out a win there. It was a really ugly win, but a win nonetheless. They were home in Toronto. That had to go on the road in a back-to-back, play Indiana last night. Indiana had Karis LeVert back. I don't know what the reason was. Maybe it was Indiana's such a slow start to the season, but I was not ready to see Karis LeVert. He scored their first 8 or 9 points last night. I mean, the kid's a walking bucket. I love Karis LeVert. I mean, he was an absolute stud. But the fact they were able to win, I mean, they only scored 97, but they held them to 94. It wasn't the prettiest win once again, but they're winning these games. A win is a win, and you're beating on the teams that you're supposed to beat on, which is interesting because in that Indiana game, I remember looking at that preview and seeing Indiana was favored, and I was like, oh no, this can't be right. But at the time, Toronto was, 1-3. So they've won 4 straight. And let's take a look at this upcoming week. They have 4 games, so another 4-game week. This one's going to be extremely interesting. You have the Knicks on Monday night. This game's huge, okay? You're in Madison Square Garden against one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference. The New York Knicks are tied for the 1 seed at 5-1. Just had a little quiet win against the Pelicans. Like they said, their 1 losses are against Orlando. I don't think we should really be sleeping on Orlando. Jalen Suggs is a very talented basketball player, and they have some really young pieces that are going to turn out to be good players. But Monday's game on the road, this is going to tell me a lot about this squad. You're on a 3-game win streak. You're without your best player. Can you overcome adversity and pull out a win against a red-hot team? If the Raptors win on Monday against the Knicks, they're a playoff team 100%. It doesn't matter what happens. They are 100% a playoff team. I think as of right now, they're 100% a playoff team. If you watched my season preview, my season prediction video, I've got the Raptors as the 5 seed, advancing to the second round, taking down the Brooklyn Nets in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. So this win would not shock me one bit, but given the circumstances, without Pascal Siakam, you're on the road, Knicks are red hot. This game tells me a lot, though. If they're able to pull off a win here, I will be extremely excited. Get ready tomorrow night for that recap. Win or lose. Win, you should be exhilarated. Loss, I'm still excited to recap it. Now, Washington's really interesting, too, because Washington is the next game on Wednesday. You're in Washington. Doesn't help. And Washington's 5-1 on the season. Like, they're literally 5-1. They've already beaten the Raptors in the first game. Now, that was a really ugly game for Toronto. I would love to just forget about that game. 98-83. It was disgusting. At home, too, in Toronto. It was a horrible game. I think we all want to forget about that. But they've got some great wins. They got a win against Indiana in overtime. Lost to the Brooklyn Nets. Now they're on a 3-game win streak. Won a game in Boston. Beat the Hawks at home. And then beat the Celtics at home last night. So this is a Wizards team. A brand new look. They've already beaten the Raptors this season through 7 on the road. This is a big game. I never thought I would say that. I never thought I would anticipate Washington Wizards being a tough game. But you're on the road. It's a tough game. Cleveland. This Eastern Conference isn't as easy as it seems. Now, Cleveland, they've lost 2 straight. But let me tell you who they've lost 2 straight to. The Los Angeles Lakers on the road and the Phoenix Suns on the road. Cleveland Cavaliers this season, they're 3-4. Who are their 3 wins against? Glad you asked. Some pretty talented teams. The Atlanta Hawks, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Denver Nuggets. Clippers and Nuggets were on the road. This Cavs team, you can't sleep on them. This is a game that the Raptors need to win. You're at home. You need to win the games you're supposed to win. Brooklyn Nets at home on Sunday, another really interesting game. Looks like James Harden's finally starting to get back in shape at the very least. In their last game against Indiana, he dropped 29, 8, and 8 on extremely efficient shooting. We'll see tonight. They play the Detroit Pistons. I anticipate them to get the win. They're 3-3 on the season, so a little bit slow of a start. This is a huge game, man. This is gonna be Sunday afternoon, so we might be live for this game. I should be live for the first 3, but let's get into some predictions here. Now, the Knicks are going to be tough. The Raptors, if they've shown me anything, they want to be the underdog. I mean, Toronto, they're pretty used to being the underdog, especially in basketball. Last couple of years, Kawhi left. Everyone seems to just blow him off for no reason. Well, I guess the reason's Kawhi. BS, absolute BS. So New York Knicks, you're on the road. I think they get the win. I think they get the win. Someone will step up. I think Scotty Barnes will continue his feasting. I think Scotty Barnes, maybe we're talking like 18-8, 18-7, 18-9. I think it'll be either Freddie, OG, or Gary Trent. I think it'll be one of those 3 cats who absolutely goes off. And by absolutely goes off, I mean 30. I think it will be OG. The thing is, with the New York Knicks, are a phenomenal defensive team. They took down my Chicago Bulls, and defensively, they're freaking good, man. Anything Tom Thibodeau touches defensively is going to be pretty impressive. So I think Fred VanVleet's going to have to drop 20. You're looking at Kemba Walker, not the best defender. Looking at that shooting guard position, hopefully Gary Trent Jr. can make some stuff happen on Evan Fournier. Hopefully he drops at least 15. But then OG Anunoby, I'm gonna predict a 30-point game. I know RJ Barrett just had a phenomenal, 40-something point game, 6 of 6 from downtown, and he's been clamping up anybody he touches. But I think OG's a little frustrated right now. He's coming off a pretty decent stat line, 15, 5, and 5. I think he's going to be able to drop 30. He hasn't really gone off offensively in a game, maybe one game this season. These are the moments he lives for. This is the moments Raptors lives for. So I know 30 against RJ Barrett might sound a little like a far-fetched, but I'm going to ride with it. The Wizards, oh man, I hate saying this. I think they'll get the better of them. I think it's just with Washington, who the hell knows what they are right now? I don't even know if Washington knows what their identity is. They have all these new pieces. You've got Trez, you've got Kuzma, you've got KCP, you've got Dinwiddie. You've got all these young pieces, and they're just playing very confident right now, and it's on the road. I really hope I'm wrong, and I think half the reason I'm predicting them to lose is because I want to be wrong with this one so badly. They would be on a 5-game winning streak if they won this and they beat the Knicks. Cleveland Cavaliers at home. I've got them winning this one. I think it'll be really close. I view this game similarly to Orlando. I think it'll be a very close game. I think they'll edge it out in the fourth quarter just by being the better team, playing good, smart basketball, limiting turnovers, getting defensive stops, and pushing the pace. So I've got them winning that game. Brooklyn's going to be tricky. You got Kevin Durant. You got James Harden. I'm going to go with Toronto on this one because Brooklyn's struggling a little bit right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to just necessarily figure it out by then. Their losses are pretty gross. Like, they're really bad losses. The Hornets, the Heat, and then Bucks on opening night. They've got some really bad losses. This next week for them, it's not too bad. You got the Pistons Pistons tonight. They don't play till the Hawks, then the Pistons, then the Raptors. They're about to go on like a 5 or 6 game road trip here. But I think some way, somehow, the Raptors at home, I think the reason comes from that 6-man. I think coming at home against the Brooklyn Nets, coming off a good win against the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think they have another week at 3-1, which would put them at 7-4, probably a top 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference at the very least. So that's where I'm going with this. But I see a game like that Cleveland game, no matter how the week's going, if you're 0-2, if you're 2-0, that game, it's a trick game. That's one of those trick games. You can't come out groggy. You can't come out sleepy. The good news is the Raptors, they don't have any back-to-backs this week, so that is very good news. Now, I would love to hear your guys' predictions down below in the comment section. Let me know if you like this concept of the weekly report for teams. I'm going to do it probably for a bunch of different teams, but started off with the Raptors because I know Raptors Nation, you guys love watching these videos. Like I said, we're trying to get to 9,000 subs. I've got a daily channel. I've got a second like daily channel, vlog channel down below, link there. I've got the links to my Twitter, anything like that, any socials you want. But yeah, if you're watching this, hit the like button, hit that comment button. Let me know you're still watching this late into the video. I really appreciate all you guys tuning in. Let's get it done this week, 3-1. Let me know down below.